All right, let's talk about something you use every single second of every day. Words. And I promise you, by the end of this, you are never going to see them the same way again. We're about to pull back the curtain on how meaning actually works, and trust me, it is not what you think. So let's just dive right in.
Okay, so let me ask you something super simple. What does the word bank mean? Seriously, just think about it for a second. The first thing that pops into your head. You got it? Good. Because that one little word, it's about to cause a whole lot of problems. And right there, that's the whole problem, isn't it? Did you picture a place with money and vaults? Or did you think of the grassy edge of a river? They're completely unrelated ideas, but we use the exact same sound, the exact same word for both. So what in the world is meaning anyway? To crack this code, we're going to do a little stress test. We'll take the most common sense, obvious theories about where meaning comes from, and we're going to see just how quickly they completely fall apart. First up, the dictionary. I mean, this seems like a no-brainer, right? The meaning of a word is its definition. But wait a second. Dictionaries define words using other words. So if you don't know what those words mean, you have to look them up. And on it goes. It's a completely circular system. So that can't be the whole story. All right, so the dictionary's out. What about theory 2? Maybe meaning is just the mental picture a word creates in your head. I say apple, you picture an apple. Seems to work, right? Well, this idea hits a wall, and it hits it fast. Yeah, I mean, seriously, try it right now. What picture pops into your head for the word justice? Or how about aspect? Or something really simple like the word of? You just can't. There's no picture. So the mental image theory is definitely not it. Okay, fine. One last shot with the obvious answers. Theory 3. A word's meaning is the actual thing it points to, out there in the real world. The word cup means, well, that physical cup on your desk. This is called the reference theory of meaning. And nope, this one feels immediately too. What object in the real world is history, or an idea like big? It doesn't point to one specific thing. And what about unicorns? They don't exist, but the word unicorn definitely has a meaning. So here's the takeaway. All the simple answers are wrong. We need better tools. And that is where we get to really cool part. So let's throw out those simple ideas and open up the toolkit that actual linguists use to figure this stuff out. This is where it gets good. Our first tool is something called prototype theory. And the idea here is that instead of having a rigid, dictionary-style checklist for what a word means, our brains organize meaning around the best or most typical example of something. Meaning isn't a yes-no question, it's more of a scale. For instance, if I say bird, what do you picture? Probably something small, with feathers, that flies and sings. You know, like a robin. A robin is a very prototypical bird. Now, a penguin is technically a bird, for sure, but it's not very birdy, is it? It's way out on the edges of the category. Okay, next tool up, componential analysis. Now this one is way more, well, analytical. It's like we're chemists breaking down a molecule into its basic atoms. This theory says a word's meaning is just a bundle of smaller essential features. Look at the word bachelor. We can break it down into these little features. It's plus male, plus adult, and minus married. Now, just flip one of those switches. Change plus male to plus female, and you get a totally different word, spinster. It's like having a little control panel for meaning. So we've got these cool tools, prototypes, and features. But here's the real secret, the biggest mind-bender of all. A word doesn't have meaning all by itself, in a vacuum. It gets its meaning from its place in a giant, invisible web of relationships with every other word. One of the most important relationships is this idea of a hierarchy. You have a word like sedan, which is a type of car, and car is a type of vehicle. It's this relationship, which linguists call hyponymy, that organizes our whole vocabulary into these massive family trees, from super general all the way down to super specific. Okay, so now we can finally solve our bank problem. What we have there is what linguists call homonymy, the same word, but with completely unrelated meanings. Now that's totally different from something called polysemy. That's when one word has multiple meanings that are all clearly related, like the head on your shoulders and the head of a company. See? They're both about being at the top of something. And get this is the part that just blows my mind. Having words with multiple meanings isn't a flaw. It's not a bug in the system. It's actually a feature.
It's just way more efficient for our brains to reuse a short, simple word like head in a dozen different ways than it is to invent a whole new word for every single concept.
So this is all really interesting academic stuff, right? Prototypes, features, webs of meaning. But why should you care? Well, because this stuff has massive, real-world consequences for everything from a simple conversation to the most advanced technology we've ever built.
So up to this point, we've basically been talking about semantics, the literal dictionary-style meaning of words. But then there's this whole other layer called pragmatics, and that's all about the intended meaning in a specific situation. It's the difference between what the words literally say and what you mean when you say them.
You know the classic example, right? Someone at dinner says, "Can you pass the salt?" Now, semantically, they are asking a yes or no question about your physical ability to lift the salt shaker. But you don't just say yes and sit there, right? Come on. You understand the pragmatic request. Please give me the salt. Context is absolutely everything.
And this is where everything we've talked about just launches straight into the 21st century and gets kinda sci-fi. Because all these abstract relationships, prototypes, hierarchies, context, they aren't just for humans anymore. Computers can now learn them by analyzing billions of pages of text, and they do it with math. This equation right here, it's famous for a reason. An AI model can learn that the meaning of a word is basically a point in a huge multidimensional space. And the relationship between king and man is the same vector, the same line as the one between queen and woman. It can literally do algebra on concepts. Just think about that for a second.
Which leaves us with one last, really big question to chew on. If a word's meaning isn't fixed, if it gets all its power from this huge web of relationships and the context we use it in, then what happens to the meaning of our words when our entire context, our culture, our technology, our society is changing faster than at any other point in human history?